Welcome to episode 25 of Qore, presented by the PlayStation Network. We are back in Japan to visit with some of our developer friends across the Pacific. But first, we're traveling to New York City to meet with those punk rock superstars Green Day for their brand new Rock Band hit.
I got introduced to Rock Band because I saw the Beatles one, and then they approached us to do a video game, and I was like, yeah, it sounds like fun, let's do it.
I knew those guys were going to make it big someday. And here in Tokyo, Game Republic has been working on the Clash of the Titans video game based on the new film remake. Then we take a trip to Q Games in Kyoto to learn more about two upcoming Pixel Junk titles, Shooter 2 and Racer's Second Lap. Trust us, just because these games are 2D doesn't mean they were easy to make. Lara Croft is one of our favorite ladies in the gaming world, and she's been kicking ass and taking names for almost 15 years. In her very first downloadable title, Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, she teams up with the Mayan warrior Totec for a co-op adventure in the jungle.
Open the pack and tip it out on the road nice and slow.
Can't do that.
And in our brand new segment, Geek Heroes, we'll introduce you to Gary Whitta and learn how he went from games journalist to screenwriter for the action film The Book of Eli. And coming to you from her very own hot tub time machine, it's Audrey Cleo with this month's biggest titles on Blu-ray. A ton of pixel junk, gods both geek and Greek, punk rock avatars, and the lovely Lara Croft. All this and more in episode 25 of Qore, presented by the PlayStation Network. I'll see you on the inside. Lara Croft is back. Since 1996, she's traveled all around the world putting her lovely assets in grave danger for your amusement. For this outing, you'll get to play co-op with a friend in this first ever digital download Lara Croft experience. We shot over to Crystal Dynamics to chat with Carl Stewart and Daniel Newberger to find out more about what makes this Lara Croft adventure so different than any other. And don't worry, even though she may be a little smaller this time, she's still got her guns. Why do you consider Lara Croft to be such an enduring character over the years?
Wow, I think it's because most all gamers will remember that from PlayStation 1 and even early PC. It was one of those very first games to do 3D and really bring a unique and different experience that it wasn't so much about the story, it was about the experience that it brought, being able to get into these tombs and sort of spend some time thinking about puzzles. So I think over the years, as the franchise has expanded, people have remembered that that was one of the very first games they ever played. So she's enduring and she's become iconic just because she's one of the very few that's been around for so long.
One of the things we really strive to do is keep the core of what makes a Lara Croft game still there. So we still have the fun action puzzles, we still have combat, and we have lots of great exploration and really stunning environments.
Lara is no stranger to danger, so what new challenges are the developers going to put in Lara's way? I mean, geez, can't a girl ever just walk down a path without needing to jump for her life?
Instead of getting into these real deep stories, we've created this kind of very light story about Lara. You can imagine for the last sort of 14 years, she's been traveling around the world, getting these sort of epic journeys. Now she's getting a chance to go back and kind of do all those secondary, smaller expeditions that she wished she had gone on.
Lara's in the Central American jungle. She's searching for an ancient artifact known as the Mirror of Smoke.
And the story is that Totec was the Guardian of Light for the Mirror of Smoke. And in this Mirror of Smoke, they basically held down this evil lord called Zolot.
There's a little bit of trouble and it falls into the wrong hands, and now she's on an adventure to get it back to safety before the end of the world. We really tried on this game to make it an even split between puzzles, combat, and exploration, which are the three main pillars of a Tomb Raider experience. And then we've infused each of those with a co-op experience.
We've kind of retracted the camera back compared to the third-person style that you've traditionally played in Lara. And as well as that, it's co-op. It gives the players opportunity to see two people on the screen and play with your friends.
So the two players actually have different tools they can use mostly to help the other players. So the two players really have to depend on each other to get through all the challenges we throw at them. Laura has her trademark grapple hook, which she can throw to ToeTech at any time, and they can use that to climb up and down walls and swing back and forth anywhere in the game. ToeTech is the master of the shield and spear, so he can obviously use those for combat, but he has even cooler uses for those in the co-op play. He can use the shield to boost Laura up to high places. He can also use the spear to throw it on the wall, and Laura can jump to them and cross really big chasms.
We give them objectives that they have to sort of traverse environments, work together, think about situations. And it really brings a sort of totally different gameplay to anything we've done before. So players have to sit and talk to each other, think about how to get over an objective.
When you're playing single player, we've actually added abilities to Laura so she can actually get through the adventure on her own. ToeTech is still part of the story and he'll pop in every once in a while, but you play through just as Laura. One of my big goals for this is to make it truly a co-op experience, something that two players are going to create a connection, the same connection the two players on screen are creating.
We like that Lara now has some company on her adventures, but for us hardcore Tomb Raider fans, it's still all about Lara.
Even now, if you look at video games, Lara still is one of the strongest female characters in video games. I mean, she kind of has the whole package. She's action-oriented, she's really smart. And I think that if you look at the rest of the video game industry, there aren't a lot of strong female characters.
I found a little quote from the message boards that I wanted to run by you. They said, "This seems to be an epic pile of not seeing enough boobie." Your response?
Well, I think that in our game, we have that isometric camera, which kind of gives you a greater sense of Laura's whole body and maybe doesn't focus on any one of her assets. Really, the experience for this game is to focus on the gameplay and focus on Lara, her interactions with the puzzles and traps inside the environments that Tomb Raider fans love. That's really been one of our main focuses, is really creating a game that's for the fans of the series that lives in between our major pillar releases.
You hear that, boys? Eyes on the game. The developers at Q Games have had a string of hits with their fun, quirky, and adorable Pixel Junk series. From Monsters to Eden, every title is unique and memorable. For their next adventures, Shooter 2 and Racer Second Lap, the devs in Kyoto are continuing the 2D tradition. And you're not going to miss that third dimension one bit.
In the 80s, I used to make lots of 2D games, and when I got my first job, I was launched into 3D games immediately, and I didn't get a chance to make any of the games that I really wanted to make back then. I've always enjoyed 2D games. They're much more abstract, and I think that really encourages people to imagine more as they play the game.
Why do you think the pixel junk games in particular really resonate with people?
I think they appeal to people's aesthetic sensibilities, I think.
There are a lot of 3D games out there. We wanted to do something with more originality and style. Pixel junk games have friendliness, and it's 2D, like the old games that you played before. Whether the game is 2D or 3D, what matters is that you enjoy it.
Where do you get the ideas for the artistic styles of the game?
I find inspiration from things outside of video games. For Eden, I was inspired by images of dance clubs. For Shooter, I got inspiration from B-movies and sci-fi movies. So usually I find inspiration from something not related to video games, and from that, create something very unique that I've never seen before.
This summer you're coming out with both Shooter 2 and Racer's Second Lap. In particular with Shooter 2, what's new?
Well, we've added the multiplayer, we've added a whole ton of levels. You start off in the belly of the boss that ended the first episode of the game. And there's like stomach acid and weird foamy gas and all kinds of stuff in there. It's really cool, lots of puzzles to solve.
So let's talk about Racer's Second Lap. What are you putting into this version of the game that you left out in the original?
Well, in the original, it was our first pixel junk game, and we didn't have trophy support or YouTube support. So we've gone back to Racer's Second Lap. We've added all that support.
For the first time, you can also compete online in a new mode we call Ghost Attack.
Every single time you race, it records how you played exactly. Anybody in your friends list or anybody in the high score table can see exactly how you played and play against you and try and beat your score.
Oh, so you don't actually have to be there to race with them.
No,
they can follow the ghost of your previous races.
Exactly.
Is it much easier to make 2D games than 3D games?
Case by case.
It's case by case. The amount of fluid and other dynamic elements we put into Shooter would be much more difficult in 3D. With each new game, we pick up where we left off and just keep progressing more and more, building on what we've created in past games.
It makes the games easier to make, but at the same time, with every game we make, we try and make it better than the last one, so it ends up being about, the same.
Whether it's the old school gameplay, eye-popping visual style, or the new online interactivity, these new titles from Pixel Junk will keep you scrolling left to right for months to come. Get ready to take the stage in Green Day Rock Band as you assume the role of these Berkeley, California legends as they rock every Get ready to take the stage in Green Day Rock Band as you assume the role of these Berkeley, California legends as they rock everything from grungy warehouse gigs to epic outdoor festivals. How did Green Day connect with rock band developer Harmonix? This game, just like all modern music, can be traced back to the Fab Four.
That's how I kind of got introduced to Rock Band, was because I saw the Beatles one, and that's where I thought it looks like fun. And then they approached us to do a video game, and I was like, yeah, it sounds like fun, let's do it.
Well, it's not as cool as like following up like the Monkees, like Rock Band, but the Beatles, yeah, we'll take it. Great company.
We were just excited to have a band that their music really fits well with Rock Band, like just the energy of the music being the instrumentation is perfect for us. They have an energy on stage. Their live performance is a huge part of their appeal. It's one thing we can't capture when you do DLC and Rock Band, so giving them their own game lets us put them on the stage and let you play, as Green Day.
Instead of just licensing themselves and cashing the check, Green Day helped craft the game whenever possible.
We had a good working relationship of hands-on, hands-off.
As far as involvement, they want us to check on like what songs and what, and we kind of let them steer the ship a little bit more. Obviously, we're not, computer geniuses or anything like that.
They were constantly involved in reviewing different assets, but we initially started brainstorming what we could do, what they were into.
Each gig represents a different point in Green Day's career, helping to tell the band's story.
It was like, we really want to do the Fox Theater and that show, and then do the Milton Keynes, and then like a club in 1994. It's great, all the details that they managed to put in.
We just really wanted to make sure that, that we had certain venues and that, and it was great that they were willing to accommodate entire albums, but we also let them do what they're best at.
It was definitely fun to come up with the songs and the venues in the game, but it was a challenge. Like, we wanted to come up with sort of the ultimate Green Day set list that would make the widest range of fans happy. The solution to us came from albums. American Idiot in particular is an album meant to be heard in its entirety. It tells a story. 21st Century Breakdown is similarly like a sort of a punk or rock opera. And then Dookie is just a really popular album. Like, it's been the most requested to get into Rock Band of all their stuff.
To make an authentic game, Green Day insisted that developers do more than just match the hair colors and tattoos. Harmonix took a new approach to animating characters.
Normally we do small animation clips that we assemble into a given song, so we can have like 1,000 songs all using the same animation material. This is the first time we've done full linear motion capture, where we actually get our performers on stage, on the mocap stage, and they do a complete performance of every song. We wanted to really capture Green Day live in the way they are, totally prowling the stage, interacting with each other, interacting with the crowd, and just sort of the passion of the audience is a big part of it. So we added a lot of techniques that we haven't done before. Our crowd is much more animated in different ways. So you have crowds that can pogo, that can wave along with Billy Joe, they can fist pump, generally jump around and like just totally feel choreographed to the song, like they're a part of the performance.
It's exciting to see that, your image up there like that, and done so well. It's definitely like superhero versions of yourself a little bit. I think we might come across as more good-looking or something, if it's possible. No, but it's just fun,
Yeah, for me it's cool because like I get to see these guys' butts every show, and so to actually see what they're doing in the front is kind of cool.
So how else does Green Day Rock Band distinguish itself from other rock band titles?
Just the performances are amazing. I think this is also the first time we've combined vocal harmonies, which we first did in Beatles, with guitar effects and whammy bars and drum fills. The archival material that we've added to it as prizes for playing through career mode. All these photographs, videos, some outtakes, extended interviews, soundcheck performance of a song that they hadn't even recorded yet. Just a lot of this cool, like, sort of behind-the-scenes stuff, or just a closer look at the band. And the most important thing is that there's a hell of a lot of really good Green Day
Clash of the Titans remake gave a classic Greek tale a big-budget Hollywood touch-up. It was clear that the action-packed adventure would make for a dynamic video game, so that's exactly what Game Republic in Tokyo set out to do. The story of Clash of the Titans, the game, basically remains the same as in the movie, but with a few extras. You play as Perseus, soldiering through ancient Greece by himself. A demigod but living as a man, you're charged with protecting the city and ultimately mankind from the underworld minions before it all goes to Hades in a handbasket. Game creators added some new story elements to give Perseus' plight more depth and to allow players the chance to create a unique story and warrior.
What do you think fans of the movie are going to like most about this game?
One of the most obvious parts of the game that fans will enjoy are the characters from the movie. Sam Worthington, for example, has been recreated in the game itself. I feel that the story of the game is more in-depth and also a little bit different. Hopefully that's an aspect that the fans will really like.
To render the game's look both unique but also loyal to what's seen in the movie, developers had to make sure their style didn't clash with an established aesthetic. And exercising those creative muscles have clearly paid off with the game's 15 mythical environments.
So there are a total of 15 locations in the game. Some are from the movie and some are original to the game. For the locations that are based on the movie, we worked hard to be sure that they closely resemble what's shown on the screen. In terms of the locations that are unique to the game, we've been able to be more creative while keeping the mood and atmosphere of the movie.
There's an environment from the movie called Medusa's Temple. This level in the game is very long, very challenging, and very tricky. There's a whole bunch of obstacles and traps that appear, enemies around every corner. It is definitely one of the more difficult levels for players to beat.
With over 90 weapons to choose from, there's no shortage of Grecian torture devices at your disposal. With so many customization options, you can truly make each one your own and spray those mythological monster guts in a most satisfying way.
First, you start by stealing weapons off of enemies. As you use them against various enemies, you start to gain items, and the weapons start to level up, giving you more power and more variety throughout the game.
You see, there are a lot of different types of weapons. There's 12 categories in all. In each category, there are several types of sub-weapons that the user can select and enhance. There's the twin blade, the fire, the heel core, the barrier, the axe, the hammer, the wing, and several others.
I think that the strongest is a weapon that creates a tornado. And what's great is that you are able to make several small tornadoes at once. When the enemy happens to touch a tornado, it will apply damage. So, you can use it in combination with other weapons. It's the most satisfying, most damaging, and most interesting one to use.
If you saw the movie, you're probably still suffering some residual PTSD from all those terrifying creatures. And we're not just talking about the Kraken and Medusa. Game Republic went above and beyond snake-haired Gorgons, ushering in a slew of new villains for Perseus' fighting pleasure, making the monster count somewhere around 100.
It's difficult and very challenging to design creatures based on Greek mythology because their look is already set in people's minds. Recreating them, but also being original, is something very difficult and very challenging for me as an art director. In the end, we were able to stay true to what people expect, but also make them original in line with the movie. One of the difficult creatures to design was Medusa. She's a creature that does very snake-like movements and also has snakes in her head. That was one of the more difficult things in terms of recreating the movements that match the movie.
The movie is very exciting. You see a lot of action in the movie, so it's exciting on its own. But when you're playing a game, you have a chance to feel as if you're actually Perseus. You know, you're able to play through the game, use a whole bunch of different weapons, interact with environments, and experience a whole new, different level of fun.
Clash of the Titans, the video game, combines the cinematic slickness of the Hollywood blockbuster and adds what only a game can. More monsters, more weapons, and most importantly, the chance to play like a real Greek demigod.